Hello and welcome. This is a getting a lift with me sitting outside my house in my car, looking like a right fanny, right? But the reason I came out to my car, I could have just sat in my house and done it, but I came out to my car because there's better chance of me getting a whole hour uninterrupted to do this. And see, to be honest, I'm lucky to be even able to get that. I'm sure somebody will come and interrupt me, but if that happens, I'll just stop and press record again. And I've got a light in my car now. I got one of these super duper, if you're on TikTok, you'll have seen this, super duper mini flashlight things after the TikTok, because now that I'm on TikTok, I got a special deal. I think it's because I've never bought for TikTok shop before. That's the only thing I've ever bought. And I was getting it for £6. And apparently the original price was 30 quid. And I thought it's worth a try. It doesn't take batteries. You charge it like you charge your phone. And we'll see if it works. I don't even know if it'll last the hour, but it's so bright, man. So bright. It's like a floodlight. Totally pure beaming for that tiny wee thing. But anyway, we shall carry on. We'll see how this goes. So I put it out on my Instagram yesterday because I get asked all the time about my menopause situation and the fact that I do fasting, I do intermittent fasting, and I get messages all the time asking about these things. I have already done a getting a lift. The diehards will know. I did a getting a lift with Emma back in August 2022. But I don't even think we touched on menopause or perimenopause back then. And I'll be honest, back then, I don't really think I was that aware that I was going through any symptoms. And it's not really till after it that I've thought, oh my God, that's what that's been. Because you don't know. It's not like you wake up one day and you go, all right, I'm totally different now. I feel totally different than I did yesterday. It never happened like that. It was a total gradual process. So anyway, I thought I would do a getting a lift with me talking about like how my life has changed because I've got older and I've aged over the last 16 months since I last did that original getting a lift. And I've got my book with me because when I put the box up on my Instagram asking people if, they wanted to ask me anything, like just putting this out there as an idea, I wasn't even definitely going to do this. And by the way, I might record this and not even put it out, right? But I put the box up and asked if there was anything that people did want me to talk about that I hadn't spoke about in that original getting a lift. And I was inundated with people saying they wanted me to talk about, here's Jude just climbed, you can't see him, but he's just climbed up on the bonnet of my car. Do you want to come into the car, Jude? Because I'm just sitting here. Come on in. Come on. We'll just wait and I'm getting in. What was I saying? I put a question box up and I got loads of questions. And I thought I'll just bring my book to make sure I don't miss any of them because I'm only going to do this like this one time for this. Are you coming in, Jude? Jude! Oh, he's just going to sit on the bonnet because I have just been for my coffee, so the engine is warm, but the car's no been on long enough to really heat up, which is why I've got my jacket on. Normally when I would do a getting a lift, the car would have time to heat up, and taking your jacket off is fine because it's roasting. But like I say, it's not on, that's why I've got my jacket on. Right, so I would say, right, the first, talking about menopause and perimenopause, I'm so passionate about talking about this now, by the way, and the reason is I just feel like there's not enough people out there talking about it and removing the stigma. I feel like there's a massive stigma attached to, women approaching that age, talking about how it's affecting them and like doing stuff to help them with it, especially HRT. Like the stigma with HRT is off the scale. And even when I put this out there on my Instagram stories, I was like, people are just so consumed by the stigma of it, but absolutely wanting people to talk about it, to know, what really is going on with it. So, that's why I wanted to do this. I don't even know where I'm going with that. I've totally digressed. I always do that. That's why it'll be a miracle if this actually works out, and if I manage to get an hour that makes any sense. Especially when I'm talking to just me talking to myself. Usually when there's somebody else here, it kind of keeps you on track. But when you're just flaming rabbiting away on your own, it could be an absolute disaster. But anyway, we'll just go with it. So, as I said in my original Getting a Lift, and I'm always talking about it, I have been riddled with anxiety my whole life that I can remember. And there was a specific incident when I was 4 years old that I feel triggered it. That was the thing that taught me, not taught, but it is a learned behaviour. Anxiety is a learned behaviour. Newsflash. That one incident when I was 4 was the incident in my mind that triggered a then lifetime of being riddled with anxiety. So I don't really know anything else. I'm always kind of living on the edge of fear, because that's what it feels like with anxiety. And I didn't really know till I was well into my 20s anyway, that it was actually like, no, everybody felt like this. And it wasn't actually normal, but it kind of is my normal, because it's all I've ever known for such a long time. But there is times when it's a lot worse than other times, and that's where I always try to get it to a much less, like, kind of tense spell, although those spells still happen. But I try to manage it so that it's kept at bay, basically, because if I was really just to allow it to fucking become this big inferno, it would constantly consume my life, and I'd be in the house in a dark corner all the time. So the reason I'm telling you that is, and it has, like, peri-menopause and menopause hasn't, I don't think, affected my mental health in that way. It's affected it in other ways, which I'll tell you about. But the anxiety I have always had, and I haven't really noticed any change in that than what I've always had, right? So I have to say that, because I think it's so easy, right? And I've noticed that society does this as well. If you're a woman of a certain age, like, society even do it as a joke, that's your age. That's brain fog, because that's your age. Or, you're stressing out about that because you're menopausal or perimenopausal or whatever. Like, people even come into my inbox and say it, if I say something like fucking stupid, which is often, or I get something confused or mixed up or whatever, guaranteed there will be somebody at least in my inbox saying, "Hey, that's a sign of the menopause. Welcome to the menopause." Like, it's just what society do. And I do think that needs to stop. Like, that needs to stop right now, because everybody does that. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody says stupid things. Everybody does daft things. I mean, some more than others. I accept that. But it doesn't mean that everything that you do that's like that is labelled menopause. It's mental that is so rife. It doesn't offend me or anything. Or does it offend me? I don't know, but I don't think people should say it. I just don't think you should be saying that. That's like saying, "Oh, you made that mistake because you're a woman." Like, there would be an uproar if people cut about saying stuff like that. And to me, it's the same as saying, "Oh, that's down to your age," or whatever. And men, equally as women, get a bit forgetful or whatever as they get older. It's no exclusive to women to kind of lose a bit of memory and that as you get older. I know that menopause is exclusive to women. I know that. It's inevitable, by the way. You're all going to go through it, all you women, regardless of what age you are. And it can start as young as 35. Perimenopausal symptoms can start as young as 35. So I always say, Jude's pure looking over there, and that made me look, what is it, wee man? He's still sitting on my boot. It's just a wee boy for the street. What was I saying there? Somebody will say, that's in the menopause. You forgot that. Aye, everybody forgets, regardless. No, I wasn't saying that. I was saying about women in their age. It's going to happen to you regardless, and it could happen as early as 35 right up to whatever age, into your 60s, possibly beyond. So as I was saying, mental health hasn't affected me in a way that I could like really go, right, that was that, with anxiety anyway. But there are a couple of things that I need to tell you about that did come into it with mental health that really affected me. So I didn't know I was perimenopausal for ages. I kept thinking like things maybe change slightly, and I'd be like, all right, that's different now. That never used to be like that. Like my hair, for example, right? So that was the first change that I now, on reflection, absolutely know and believe was perimenopausal related. My hair started to really thin, and I'd never had that my whole life. I'd never experienced anything like that, and it was like dead greasy, and it was just a really massive change for me. And that did affect my mental health in terms of, like, it made me feel extremely low. I've always like been quite taking a lot of pride in my hair, like doing my hair. I'm not an expert, and by the way, I should have said that at the start, I'm not an expert in anything at all. I'm just sharing my own views, my own personal opinions, and my own experiences. So my hair really affected me because it was a big thing for me. I've always loved my hair and doing my hair and looked after it and whatever. And I just didn't really know what to do about it at all. And I'd went out on my Instagram stories asking like people if they've experienced this, and I was buying like better shampoos, expensive products for my hair. It wasn't really making that much of a difference to the thickness. They were nice products, they were making the hair that I had feel lovely, but they weren't making my hair thicker. And then my friend Jen, who, like, Jen's quite a cynical person and doesn't suffer fools gladly or anything like that, and she was saying to me, you've got to try this supplement, it's amazing, I take it. She'd went through her own symptoms, and she said it's amazing. And it took me a couple of months of her saying that to me, though, before I finally went, right, I'm going to try that. And it was probably the price that was putting me off, because back then when I started buying it, and we are just talking, like, I've been taking that now, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe, it's ages anyway. It was 30 quid. It was 30 quid for a tub of this supplement. It's now, I mean, I can now get it for £15 on Amazon, but the 30 quid put me off. But I was so low and depressed about my hair that I thought, fuck, I need to do something about this. And if Jen's saying this stuff is good, it must be good. And that's honestly why I bought it, because she said it. So it's this is not an ad, I pay for it all. I do have an affiliate link on my Instagram page, but I still pay for it. It's the Meggie Wellness Hair Growth Supplement, and like I say, I've been taking it for at least a year and a half. It might even be longer, but it's got biotin, folic acid and horsetail in it. And you can buy, I'm well aware, you can buy all those supplements separately, much cheaper if you want to do that, but I'm happy with this. I feel like it's made such a difference, and I'm just going to keep taking it because my hair needs it. So that was the first thing, my hair going thin. I already had, like, the obvious thing of your period, I already had been fitted with the coil not long after I had Lola, the Marina coil. So that's the progesterone that's in that, if I've said that right. So you're already actually getting half of like a full HRT prescription with that anyway. And I got fitted with that not long after Lola was born, and that benefited me massively. That's just my personal story. Like I say, I know not everybody has the same results with the coil, and I know my story's not the same as everybody else's, and everybody is different. I'm just telling you my story. I had horrendous periods for 30 years, and getting that coil fitted after I had Lola was the best thing for me, the best thing that I found. Totally regulated my periods, and took away the heavy bleeding, and you get very, very little bleeding with a coil, or I did. So I was already like no getting that much of a period anyway, so I couldn't use that as a gauge as to where I was with perimenopausal symptoms. And that's the one thing that if you go to a healthcare professional, that's like the first thing they'll ask you. That's the main gauge as to whether they're going to decide that you're perimenopausal or not. And I had the coil, and it just wasn't a good measure for me because I wasn't getting really a period anyway. So I didn't have that to kind of even gauge myself, and I didn't want to get the coil out because, like I say, it's done wonders for me for the actual whole, period thing. So the hair was the first thing, but like I say, I didn't recognise it as a perimenopausal symptom till much later. Like even now looking back, I'm like, all right, that was what that was. And I couldn't even put an exact age on it when it started. I would say roughly about lockdown, which would be 2020. So I just turned 50 in November. So that would be like 46, maybe 47. Aye, about that age. Now, I'm already a massive believer in alternative therapies and holistic therapies for like mental health and stuff anyway. I've done the cold water therapy. I've written this down because I wanted to make sure I talked about it all. Meditation, tapping, CBT and hypnotherapy, all of that I dip in and out of quite a lot. Some more than others, and some much more regularly than others. So I already did those type of things as part of my overall health and well-being anyway, being a massive sufferer of horrendous anxiety. These were things that I had explored to help that anyway, so they're also very good for perimenopause and menopause symptoms. So I was doing all of that anyway, and I always have tried to eat kinda healthy, right? But I'm not gonna lie about eating shite and loving in the past hundreds of chocolate and sweet things and, fried stuff. And I used to drink wine. There's a load of things that I used to drink that I just can't drink now. Diet Coke for one. I used to drink 4 cans easily a Diet Coke when I was working in an office back in the day. That was my go-to drink. I didn't drink tea or coffee, just Diet Coke. And I've had people messaging me saying, how did you get off the Diet Coke? And I got off it because my body told me it was time to get off it. It was, again, it's like these things, as you age, things creep up in you and you don't have a choice. Unless you want to suffer, you don't have a choice but to change it. So I started to feel actually unwell after drinking a Diet Coke and getting horrendous heartburn. And I believe that was my body saying, right, you, listen, that's fucking plenty of that Diet Coke. you know, after years and years and years of drinking it 4 times a day. And that was it. I just had to stop drinking it. I just felt horrendous after I had a can, and I just reverted to water. And honestly, that was it. And it's like, when I was reflecting back before coming on to do this video, I was thinking, that is actually, when I was thinking about all the things that have changed in my life that I can't eat or do now because I'm getting older, that was how it happened. It was just suddenly I became aware that something wasn't right with what I was doing, drinking or eating, and I had to change it. And it's just all been a gradual process. And I think, like, you need to be so aware of that as you get older. You need to be, like, you know, thinking to yourself, I did used to drink this. You know, instead of thinking, I've always drank that, so I should always be able to drink it. You know, instead of thinking like that, you should be able to think to yourself, I did used to drink that, but I need to accept now, I can't drink this. My body's not accepting it. It's just not the same as it used to be. Like, we need to accept that we're getting older and we need to change things as a result. We need to maybe change how we do things, how we view things, whatever, if you want to live happily for the rest of your life, and or as happy as you can be. You know, let's not get fucking carried away here. Everything isn't all rosy in the garden, but you know what I mean. You want to make your life the best you can for the rest of your life, because that's what it boils down to. Like, I'm now perimenopausal. I'm still not classed as like in the menopause, because I've not gone a full 12 months without a period, so I'm still perimenopausal. But I have to accept that things will need to change. Or I do accept that things will need to change, because I want to live the rest of my life as happy, in inverted commas, as I can be. I don't want to be living the rest of my life suffering because I've hit menopause, perimenopause. You know, I'm only 50, I'm still classed as middle-aged. I don't want to be boxed off the way society seem to like to box off old women, that they're old moany fucks and let's just no bother about them because, you know, that's what they are. I don't want to be that. So that is why, like, people ask me, how did you change things? And that's kind of, see that I'm saying, because I don't want to live my life feeling like shit. That's been the main driving factor. So going back to talking about what eating and diet, because this is all like managing yourself and your body and your mental health for entering into this, you know, second half stage of your life, is a holistic approach. It's no just one thing. It's no just HRT. It's no just your diet. It's no just exercise. It's no, like, all these things that everybody puts out there all the time that's good for you, and they are good for you. It's no just one of those things that's going to help or fix whatever your issues are going into the, you know, maturer stage of life. And I absolutely believe that. I've done loads and loads of research, by the way. Some things I didn't research, I just did it to see if it would help. It maybe did, but most of the time I've done my research. But anyway, getting back to my diet, I've always been kinda healthy-ish. I've always tried to eat like good stuff. Like I say, I've always ate shite as well. I've done every diet under the sun, and they're on the bin. I don't advocate any of that now. I'm so against fucking fad diets, and the postman's here, but he's not coming in. Fad diets and any kind of like diet plan. I just think the best, most healthy way to, you know, getting comfortable with yourself, and whatever that may be, you know, there's no right or wrong size either. I fully agree with and accept that. Is down to how you feel individually. But I think the best way for anybody to get to, you know, feeling happy with themselves or accepting their body size, shape, whatever, is a varied, healthy, mixed diet with a bit of anything that you fancy flung in there. And as my gran always said, too much of anything is bad for you. So you know, you just don't want to overdo it with anything, really. So I have always been quite healthy and ate shite, but I felt, in fact, I know exactly the day it was. So the day that I had Christine from Keeping Fit in my car, which was the 29th of September 2022, doing our first Getting a Lift. Christine, who I highly recommend following as well, knows all about women's health and supplements and whatever. We got talking about like just food, and sugar came up, and I have known for a very long time how bad sugar is for you, and I was a sugar addict without a shadow of a doubt. And that's why I'm saying I've always tried to eat healthy, right? But my biggest problem was sweeties. And it got to a point like nothing satisfied me. I could eat 4 twirls, 2 bounties, a galaxy, and still think I've not enough. I've not enough chocolate today. And I would be eating like 2 bars of chocolate easily a day. And it got to a point, and I knew before Christine, having that conversation with Christine in the car just fucking gave me that final cherry on the cake that I needed to sober up. Just fucking do something about this, Manny. Because at that point, I was feeling, so I'm doing all the holistic stuff anyway. I do eat healthy anyway. I gorged myself on sweeties, and I was thinking, I feel shit. I was at a point where I was doing lots of great stuff, holistically and alternative therapy stuff, like I've always done, and I was just that creeping up feeling again that was just creeping up on me. I feel shit. Something's got to change here. My body feels crap. I feel lethargic. My mental health's not that great. I'm just not feeling good about myself. And if you don't feel good about yourself, your mental health isn't good, I believe. And at the back of my mind, it was niggling with the sugar, because I have researched sugar for years. Like I say, I have known about the impact of sugar on the brain especially, not to mention the rest of your body. You can Google that yourself, right? Just take my word for it. It is the new, till you Google it, that it is so bad for the body. And that's not, I'm not sitting here preaching saying, oh, fucking stop eating sweeties and cakes. The new, because it's so bad. Keith and Lola still eat sweeties and cakes. It is not for me to tell anybody what to do. It's only for me to share my story and my experiences and what I was thinking and where I was coming from when I changed my habits. And I believe for me to keep feeling okay about myself as I get older, I'm going to have to keep doing this stuff, and probably more, changing things and adding things in as I get older. And I remember that with my gran. I remember my gran saying, oh, I can't eat that anymore. No, that really, upsets my stomach. I can't eat that now. I used to be able to eat that, but I can't eat that now. And it's only now looking back on stuff like that that I realise there's so much with my gran, like her no sleeping as well, where I realise, oh my God, that was like menopause. That's happening to me now. These things that my gran said that I just fucking went, aye, all right, gran, whatever, are actually real, actual things that happen to you as you go older. So anyway, my diet wasn't horrendous, but the consumption of sweeties was. And when I had that Getting a Lift podcast with Christine back at the end of September, like I say, in 2022, I just thought, no, enough is enough. If I want to do something to make me feel better, I'm going to have to go with this, like cutting out the sweeties. And I have to say, like I always say, I'm not completely sugar free, right? I'm not preaching that I'm some sort of fucking saint and I don't consume sugar at all. That would be a lie. Yes, I do. I consume sugar and other things. I eat fruit, because I went sugar, I cut out sweeties back then. Don't know if I said that, man. Like I say, this is all over the place. I cut out sweeties at the end of September 2022. And I've never had a full, like, cake, berry chocolate, anything like that since then. And I don't plan on going back to that. I think I've had like 2 mouthfuls of cake in all that time. And I haven't had any chocolate. I never even had a Christmas chocolate at all. And that's the God's honest truth. I just decided that the next thing I felt I had to do to try and feel better about myself at that stage in my life was cut out sugar. And I have to say, I do not do it for like weight loss, or didn't do it for weight loss. And if you Google that, oh God, I'm fucking jumping all over the place here. I didn't do the stopping the sugar for weight loss. I also do intermittent fasting, right, which I'll come to. But none of that, nothing that I'm telling you about today was for weight loss. I have always been pretty much built the way I'm built. I'm a size 8 to 10. I've always tried to watch what I'm eating to stay kind of within this size, because this is where I'm comfortable. I've never really been hugely overweight. The only time I remember being overweight was after I had Lola, and you know, I did everything I could then to get back to my comfortable size. So I don't do any of these things that I'm talking about for weight loss, because I did notice on my Instagram question box yesterday that a lot of people were saying, oh, I need to lose weight, I want to cut out the sugar, and I want to do fasting because I need to lose weight. I didn't do any of this to lose weight. I can't stress that enough. I don't recommend doing fasting or cutting out sugar purely to lose weight. I did it personally because of the way it was affecting my body and my mind and my brain as I'm getting older. So that's why I did it. I've never been big anyway. I did notice a slight drop in my like bloatedness and like weight. I did notice a drop in my weight by 1/2 stone, right, which isn't a massive amount when I both cut out the sweeties and I was doing my fasting anyway, which I will come on to. But when I did, after doing that podcast with Christine, I was just like, nah, fuck this. I am sick of feeling like a bag of shite. I'm cutting out the sugar. I'm just going to cut it out. I need to word this properly, man, or people will say, oh, you said you weren't sugar free. I'm no sugar free. I cut out the sweeties. I cut out the sweeties and the cakes and everything like that. And I just started that very day. I thought, we'll see how we go. I had no time limit on it. I just thought, a couple of weeks, see how it goes. It went into a month. And I was just thinking, right, I'll see, keep going. And then it was coming up to Christmas and I still hadn't had any sweeties by then. And I thought, in my mind, I was thinking, I don't want Christmas to defeat me. I don't want to think, right, it's Christmas, so I need to eat sweeties because that's what you do at Christmas. Like, it was annoying me that that's kind of what we do, what we've always done, what our culture is. So I wanted to kind of beat that. And so I did. And see, when I did that, I thought, oh my God, if I can go the whole of Christmas and New Year without any sweeties, I can live like that. I can live like no having sweeties. And then we went on holiday in the Easter time and I never had any sweets or chocolate or anything there either. And I just thought, I can do this. And I just started to feel like I didn't even need it. So that was how I cut out the sugar. I feel much less like groggy, bloated, the brain fog. I mean, I still get brain fog, but I just feel it has made such a difference overall to how I feel, energy levels, everything like that. And see, even if it hadn't though, right, and I was thinking this, even if I hadn't felt any sort of physical impact, when you read what sugar does to your body, that is enough for me not to eat it. That's just me, right? That's just my opinion. Please Google it. I don't want to sit here and tell, give everybody the fear about sugar, because like I say, Keith and Lola still have it. I don't preach what you should and shouldn't do. I don't press it onto my husband and Wayne. I just do what's best for me, and that's what I feel my body needs. And like I say, I've got no desire to go back to eating sweeties. And people have asked me, but how did you do it? And I did it purely out of a determination to feel better. Like, that was my main driving factor. Then people ask me, like, what did you snack on? I didn't like deprive myself of food. And like I say, I'm not completely sugar free. Loads of foods have got sugar in them, right? And I eat those foods. I eat beans, I eat potatoes, I eat everything like that. It is just a massive reduction in sugar intake that I have like got on board with. And I still eat, I still have crisps. I don't eat a huge amount of crisps, being totally honest, but I do still eat them. I don't deprive myself of crisps. And I eat loads of nuts. I love almonds, and pistachios are my favourite. Those two are my favourite. I've also got like red skin peanuts in the house now, cashews, walnuts. None of them are my favourites. The almonds and the pistachios are my favourites, which are also really good for peri-menopause, menopause. Now, if you're in a calorie controlled diet, you're going to be like, oh my God, no, I can't eat nuts because nuts are high in fat, I think. I don't count calories. I don't count fat. I eat what I like. I don't eat sweeties, and I do fasting. So I'll come on to the fasting thing. I have done intermittent fasting for years. Not deliberately, but just because even when I was away, right, and I remember this so clearly, like staying at my gran's house and getting up, because we used to live with my gran at first, and getting up in the morning, and was always offered a breakfast and could never eat a breakfast. And the reason I couldn't eat a breakfast was because I was always absolutely riddled with anxiety in the mornings. And I'm still like that. My anxiety is at its worst in the morning, but I'm also at my best in the morning because my brain is so alert and so like able and ready that that's when I operate at my best in the morning. I'm not really worth a button at night time. But that all comes down to like having anxiety in the morning, and that anxiety was through fear of what lay ahead in the day. And I've always, even into adulthood, when I was working in the office at the bank, that was always my worst time in the morning. And when I've got anxiety, or any time in my life where I'm extremely stressed because something horrendous has happened, I always lose weight because I can't eat. I'm one of those people, how like some people eat their feelings. I can't eat when I've got anxiety. I'm just an absolute bag of nerves and feel sick at eating anything. So as a child, I wouldn't eat till at least lunchtime. Then I'd get my dinner at like 5 o'clock, and supper wasn't really a thing when I was away. Maybe a bit of roasted cheese here and there, but I was never really hungry at night either. So I have intermittently fasted really throughout my whole life, off and on. And again, intermittent fasting is something that I have researched massively. Google that yourself as well. And it's proven to have a really good impact on the brain, especially, your cognitive ability, and it helps brain fog. Again, though, I don't preach it. I'm not saying everybody should do intermittent fasting. I don't recommend it for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody, especially if you're like a high performing type person in terms of activity and sport and whatever. It's definitely not advisable. if you do something like that. But if you are interested in it and it's something you think you might benefit from, then I thoroughly recommend, doing your research on it. And I do fasting from 6 o'clock at night till 12 o'clock the next day. So I have my last meal at 6 o'clock and then I don't eat again till 12 o'clock. Some people do 12 till 8, so they have their last meal at 8 o'clock at night and then don't eat again till 12 o'clock. I don't struggle with it at all, and it's purely because I've been used to doing it my whole life, just with the type of person that I was. I just kind of fell into it. It wasn't deliberate, it just was the way that my life panned out with everything. So it made it so much easier when I was actually consciously going, right, I'm going to do intermittent fasting. And I do believe that's why it's been like so easy for me. I haven't really struggled with it. But in saying that, right, see if you do want to try it, I would need, don't get up one morning and just go, boom, I'm going to do this a day, no eat till 12 o'clock and then have my last thing eat at 6. Like everything, your body takes time to adjust, especially to a change as big as that if you've been eating, 3 meals a day. I would say just start a bit later. So if you have your breakfast at 8 o'clock, maybe try having it at 10 o'clock and, just keep it going in increments of, say, 15 minutes. I don't know, till you feel like you're okay. Because if I was to feel starving in the morning, right, and think, oh my God, I need to have something to eat today, and I don't know why, I feel starving today, I'm going to have something to eat, I would go and have some nuts. I wouldn't. I'm not like regimented. No, Mary, no. You're doing this intermittent fasting. Doesn't matter that you're hungry, you're not eating fuck all. I don't do that. Like, be kind to yourself. If you're hungry, fucking have something to eat, man. Don't sit there starving because you're doing intermittent fasting. If it didn't work for you the day, start again tomorrow. There's always the next day. And if I'm like at the weekends, we have a takeaway on a Friday night and I maybe be eating that at 7 o'clock. Now, yeah, maybe I can fast till 1 o'clock the next day, but see if I can't, it doesn't matter, right? It's no like life or death. If you're doing it most of the time anyway, having 1 or 2 days in the week where it didn't quite work out is totally fine. That's the advice I would give. Just don't be hard on yourself. Try it. Just try doing it. And if it doesn't work, just adjust the times accordingly till you can build it up if that's what you want to do. Like I say, it doesn't work for everybody. Me personally, my body responds well to it. Always has done. It's just, your gut tells you as well. There's like, I just get so many like gut feelings. You go with your gut. Like, does this sound good to you? Is this going to work for you? Then if the answer to you feels like a yes, then give it a shot. But see if it feels like a no, then the chances are it's not going to be good for you. It's so important to listen to yourself with that as well. So I did that. So that was a year past in the end of September. I cut out the sweeties and I was doing fasting anyway, and I probably made a more concerted effort after I cut out the sugar to do the fasting as well. So I've done that, both of them, no sweeties, intermittent fasting for like that 14, 15 months, whatever it is. And if I, like I say, if there's days where it doesn't really work out and stick to my plan, that's all right. That's okay. You just start the next again day if that's what you want to do. And I'll just say again, these things are not for everybody, and I'm a massive believer in finding what it is that works for you. So I was doing all of that until, there's my light went out, so it doesn't even, how long was that, 45 minutes, probably an hour in total, because I've had it on before. That's probably about an hour you get out of that. Right, that's fine. What was I saying? I did all of that for all of that time, and then last year, the end of last year, I started to really suffer with, what is it called? Insomnia. I was trying to think of what's the word for not being able to sleep. The word is insomnia. I started to struggle really badly with that. And again, I don't consider myself a great sleeper anyway, because I've never been able to really go to bed night after night after night after night and get a solid 8 hours sleep. I put that down to anxiety. People that suffer with anxiety have a mind that goes 100 miles an hour all the time. And for that reason, I was never gifted with the luxury of getting an amazing sleep. But what happened was, at the end of last year, it was off the scale. I had insomnia like I'd never experienced it in my life. It was night after night, which then went into weeks, which then became months of hardly getting any sleep, 2 or 3 hours a night. And it was having, I mean, again, Google the effects of sleep deprivation. It's scary what sleep deprivation can do to you. And I didn't associate it with menopause, peri-menopause, like everything that's happened to me, right? I didn't associate it with that. It's not till after it and you reflect and go, all right, that's been what that is. Because everything just seems to creep up gradually and you just know something's not right and doesn't feel right. And, you know, when you're reflecting, you realise that's what it was. So I got to the point, I never even said to Keith, I just thought, I am going to have to go and see somebody about this. And I don't know if it's menopause or peri-menopause or what, but it was causing me such horrendous mental health. Like I felt like I just couldn't function. I couldn't string a sentence together. I would be in a room with Keith and Lola and there'd be a conversation going on and I just felt like I wasn't even in my body. I was there, but I just felt like it was the weirdest feeling. I can't even describe it. I just felt like I wasn't there. I didn't belong there. I wasn't part of this life. What am I doing here? I'm here, but I'm not here. And I thought, is this depression? Have I got depression? That's what I thought. I thought I might have depression. Which, you know, I couldn't understand either because it just didn't make sense to me. And the only thing that I could pinpoint being a massive issue was my sleep. So again, at that point, I didn't know that sleep insomnia was a side effect of perimenopause or menopause. And I kind of thought, like I just thought, is it time to get HRT? Because I do everything else. I do all the holistic stuff. I've cut out all the sweeties. I am doing the intermittent fasting. I'm, you know, looking after my diet as best I can. You know, I still eat fish suppers and that, right? But I felt like I was ticking all the boxes for absolutely everything else. And yet I wasn't getting a decent sleep. And I was questioning it. I was going, is this perimenopause related? Is it? I don't know. So I thought, do you know what I'll do? I'll just make an appointment to speak to the doctor and just say, look, I want to talk about this because I don't know if that's what's affecting me. And when I phoned my surgery, it was a nurse that did the HRT appointments. And they just booked me an appointment with the nurse and said, that's who you need to speak to, right? And I remember thinking, see if they're fobbing me off with the nurse here and I have to come back from the doctor, I'll be raging. You know, I was doing that whole thing. Who do they think they are? Telling me that it's the nurse that I have to see. I'm wanting an appointment with the doctor to discuss this. But anyway, I went to my nurse appointment and she was amazing. Amazing. And I know that a lot of people go to speak to their doctor and they don't get that type of result. And I'm not quite sure why that is, because my my nurse that I saw was amazing, and she was perimenopausal herself. She came from a family of sisters, and she said that they were all going through it, and they were all completely different. And she said women don't need to suffer, and I'll give you the HRT. She said, we'll see how it goes. She was Irish, excuse my shitey Irish accent, but she was amazing. She said, come back and we'll discuss how it's gone for you. And I was kind of like taken aback, going, well, I never really came just to get HRT. I came to talk about these issues that I'm having. Not necessarily that I definitely need HRT, which now on reflection, like I've got this HRT, then I did the research, on reflection, I'm like, I feel like a fanny now for doing that, for being so drawn in by society of like HRT being a bad thing. I mean, at the same time though, I wouldn't change anything that I did, because I do believe it's a holistic approach. Like everything needs to be looked after and taken care of. HRT is just part of that. I don't think that, if you're having perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms, that you should just go, right, I need HRT and that'll fix all my problems, because I personally don't think it will. I think you'll need to do all the other stuff as well, whatever that is for you. Again, you find what's going to work for you and you do that. So she gave me, so I'm already getting half of HRT anyway with the coil. So I wasn't needing the full HRT prescription. I only needed the estrogen half of it. So I get this Everol 50. So it's like it comes in doses of 25, 50, 75, 100, 125. I don't know, it goes up in increments of 25 anyway, and this is a kind of lowish dose. But depending on how the rest of my journey goes to menopause, like I'm fully open to and accepting that I might need to go back and get this dose upped as time goes on, depending on how I experience symptoms. So I'm fine with that. So this comes as a wee patch. This is my first box. I got this on the 1st of November, 1 week before I was 50. I started on the old HRT patches, and you just put it on like your thigh or whatever, in that kind of area, twice a week. Within 3 days of starting this, I kid you not, I was sleeping like a baby. And that for me is enough to stay on this. Like it then had a knock-on effect on everything, my mental health, how I felt about myself. Like the sleep deprivation, whilst the sleep deprivation was linked to menopause, perimenopause symptoms, everything else that happened as a result of sleep deprivation wasn't a direct link to the menopause, right? The lack of sleep was. And that's why it annoys me when people say, oh, that's your age, that's the menopause, you've got brain fog because you've got the menopause. Well, no, let's look into that a bit deeper. I've actually, at that time, got really, really bad brain fog because I'm getting fuck all sleep, which is because of the menopause. I mean, I know that brain fog can be the menopause as well, but do you know what I mean? It's just this automatic blaming everything that happens to you at this age on the menopause, and it's not necessarily the case. So anyway, I got my patches, and that sorted out my sleep, right? So I'm due to go back. I was just looking at this morning, I've only got 2 weeks supply left, so I'm going to phone the day and get another appointment with the nurse. She said that I was to go back to review how I was feeling on it. I had said to her at the time, if this does nothing for me, I'll be right back. I'm not taking it if it does nothing for me. Again, society, the culture we live in, HRT is a big bad thing. And she says, it'll not do nothing. She was absolutely right. So she was, and I'll be saying that to her when I go back. I'll say, you were absolutely right about that, hen. It fucking sorted me right out with the sleep. So Nearly 3 months into that, right? So in the interest of honesty, right, what I will say to you is, I don't know if you can see it, but I feel like this. I'm looking for and aware of things continuing to change, because I'm not through the perimenopause stage yet, right? So I've accepted things will continue to change. I need to be alert, aware of it, and advocate for myself. You say, I have researched this. This is what I need. Do those things, research it, and do what I need to do for me. I encourage everybody to do that. It doesn't matter what it is, what stage of life you're in. Advocate for yourself. Do your research. Going to the doctor and saying, I don't know what's wrong with me, tell me what's wrong. I don't think it works, pals. I don't think that works at all. And I know people say don't Google. I don't agree with that either. Don't come for me. But I just feel knowledge is power. The more Googling you do, the more research that you do, the better equipped that you are to go and say, here's what I've read, and say it. Here's what I've researched. Here's what I've read. What's the story with this? Ask the questions. If you've then read something that's totally wrong or irrelevant or whatever, the health professional will tell you that. And I think that's the best position to be in with anything that you're dealing with your health. So I was just going to say, like, being totally honest, right, I washed my hair yesterday and I feel that in the last couple of weeks being on that HRT, it's made my hair really greasy. It just feels so greasy the day. I feel like it's pure clinging to my head, and I can go 2 or 3 days without washing my hair usually. So I'm thinking that's one of the side effects of it. But I also read that things like that will happen when you first go on it. You might even take another period. I was getting like very, very light periods occasionally anyway, so that's no really changed for me. But your body's now adjusting to getting this back, this estrogen back that it had anyway. You were getting that anyway before you hit the perimenopause. All you're doing is now giving it some of it back to your body. So your body's having to adjust to getting this back. So I'm assuming that is one of the side effects, the now of taking this, and I'm hoping and expecting it to calm down, because that's if you Google it, that's what it says. Like, you'll notice maybe a surge of changes until your body regulates itself with getting this hormone back. So, you'll go back to kind of normal. So I'll just keep a wee eye on that. I mean, I know that HRT doesn't work for a lot of people. And, that's completely understandable, fine. I totally accept that. It's worked for me so far, but it's an ongoing, continuing, observational journey of, but let's see if this keeps working, or what I need to do, or whatever. But I do see it as, I'm giving my body back something that it naturally used to be able to produce itself, and now it can't. So it's no like I'm putting something into my body that I've never had before. Like, I'm giving my body that. This is just how I see it. I'm giving my body this back to get me back to some form of quality of life. Because, like I said earlier, I want to live the rest of my life as a fully functioning, enjoying it as best I can for the rest of my years kind of life, right? That's how I see it. So I'm going to just check my notes, right, because we're coming up to an hour. I can't believe I have actually been able to ramble for that long, to make sure that I've covered most of what people were asking me. There was somebody saying they were frightened to start HRT for fear of it making them worse than they already are. And I suppose I was a bit like that when I was saying to the nurse, if this doesn't work, I'll just stop taking it. In my mind, that's exactly what my view was. I just thought, if I've got any sort of negative, feeling, response, effect, whatever, with taking this, I'll just stop taking it, because you can do that. And she did say that to me. She went, okay, fine. If it doesn't work for you, you can stop taking it. So I would say, if you're feeling that bad and you're doing everything else, looking after yourself, you know, eating a good mixed diet, different things, getting some good steps in, you know, a wee bit of fresh air, exercise, whatever, all the basic stuff that's good for you to do. If you're doing all of that and you still feel utterly shite and you don't want to live the rest of your life like that, I would say it's worth a try. That's what I would say. Try it. Try it and see. If it doesn't work, you just stop taking it. Oh yeah, I was asked as well with my fasting, do I delay my coffee? No, it's not about no drinking. Jesus, you need to keep drinking. You need to keep your fluids up. It doesn't matter if it's coffee or tea. I mean, I know there's freaking things that are bad for you with coffee and tea as well. I have a cup of tea in the morning as soon as I get up. A weak tea, I like baby tea. And then after I've done the school run, I go and get my coconut latte out of the Costa. I only drink one tea and one coffee a day. And that's the two drinks that I have before 12 o'clock in the day. And then at 12 o'clock, I have whatever I'm going to have. So no, don't restrict your drinks at all. Like, that's not kind. That's not being kind to yourself. You know, remember and be kind. Where do you even start? Somebody asked. Just start. If you feel that crap and you're determined to make yourself feel better, just start. Anywhere, tomorrow, the day. When I was sitting with Christine, right, that day doing the podcast, I hadn't had anything to eat yet that day. And when I was talking to her, I was like thinking to myself, I'm just going to start this right now, because I'm not going to eat the day. I'm not going to have any sweeties. I've been doing my fasting anyway. I'm going to continue with that, but I'm not going to have any sweets. Just stop doing what you're doing and start thinking, right, I'm going to do better with this. So am I. There was a few other questions that weren't related to HRT and peri-menopause, but what I'll do is I'll just answer them in my Instagram stories. That's me, pals. I hope that's been helpful. If there's anything that I've missed or that anything else that you want to know, just put it on the comments. I'm going to put this on YouTube. Just ask me in the comments and I will reply. And like I say, I hope that's been beneficial. The next Getting a Lift that you will hear and see will be a proper one, hopefully next week, if not the following week at the latest. And I'll see you then, pals. Bye.